So we begin this Battletech Tactica, this light mech analysis with the Mercury by asking the question, the iconic and venerable mechs, the Stinger, the Wasp, do they really need to be replaced? And what's interesting, looking at the evolution of battle mechs and looking where the Mercury is situated in the game, this idea of narrative, if you're new to Battletech, approaching it from, say, another wargaming system where it's all about the stats, it's all about the math hammer, it's all about crunching the numbers. Battletech's narrative means there are various corporations and companies selling these mechs, competing with each other, selling it to mercenary companies, to the great houses. One could play a Battletech role-playing game entirely from the perspective of making your quarterly numbers and selling parts and battle mechs. So the Mercury is an evolution of this, a replacement of these mechs in the narrative. That's how it's sold. How does that translate onto the tabletop? Because you often have to look at the hype in reading the technical manuals and see how that translates out over. So the primary thing for the Mercury for me, it has the speed similar to other light mechs on there, and that is the number one attribute with light mechs. We looked at that in my Light Mech Tactica up on the Archive Battletech channel and over on my blog. This idea that you have armor, not a lot. What's going to keep you alive is a light mech in any role, whether it's recon or skirmish or as a spotter for indirect fire, movement. You need to be moving the maximum amount of hexes, trying your best to stay out of range or at least at optimal range for your weapons on there, yet at the same time being able to stack +3, +4. So this way your opponent is hitting on 10s, 11s, and 12s. Let's just crunch the numbers for a moment here. Let's say I run with my light mech, I run with my Mercury, my Wasp, my Stinger, and I've got a +4 movement. My gunnery skill, let's say I'm starting out at a base at 4. So right away that 4 + 4 is an 8. This is Battletech higher math here. You're at an 8 just to begin. That's before we add in range and before we add in if you've had to walk or run with your mech. So you're looking at average, a light mech, if you're being shot at, 10s, 11s, 12s, unless it's a similar light mech that can hunt you down. An example might be a Jenner. A Jenner has the speed to get up there point blank and at least cut down on the range modifiers on there. So with that light mech, that is your armor. That's what's going to keep you alive. Any light mech that doesn't have that burst of speed, that ability of speed, it better have a very different and good role. An example would be the Panther. I always confuse the Panther and the Puma. The Panther with the PPC. A light mech on a PPC, that's got some bite, right? That's you're mounting that for a very specific light mech support hunter. It's not going to be as fast. It changes things. You still have light armor, but there's a specific reason. If you don't have that very specialized role and you're just a slow light mech, urban mech, Irby, right? Looking at that, we have to look at other areas. So in exploring that, the Mercury's got the speed. Now we've got, this is where it gets interesting, 2 medium lasers, 2 small lasers on there. 2 medium lasers, it has some bite. If you can use that speed to get in a good position, rear armor of another mech, which should be possible, now you have 4. 2 small lasers, 2 medium lasers shooting on there. It's got an interesting weapon system, and it's got some definitive bite on there. So here's the question, though. Is it truly a successor to the Wasp, to the Stinger? And I put this out there to my fellow mech warriors, because I can only offer 100% my experience. Are you worried about internal ammo explosions? When you have a light mech that has short-range missile packs or machine gun ammo in there, are you worried about it going to internals and your mech exploding on there? Has that ever happened? And when I was thinking about that, I run light mechs a lot, usually a Thorn mech that's got a long-range missile 5-pack and a bunch of medium lasers, so it has the ammo. It's never exploded, simply because I find that if you take fire with a light mech after one or two shots, it's going to punch through. It's going to blow your arms off. It's going to go to your core. It's going to drop your engine out on there, or it's going to blast your gyro out, or both your legs are going to get blown off. You just can't take the type of damage and really still be standing to have it transfer through one or two crit areas and then kind of roll and see through there. So in my playing the game, I don't really think ammo's ever been a problem for light mechs. The reason why I switched this over is one of the things about the Mercury being an all-energy mech. Well, now there's this idea, hey, you're free from ammo explosions. You don't have to worry about it. So not only does it have a little bit more of a punch with the 2-in-2 medium and small lasers, you're freed from ammo explosion. Does that make it better on there? The other piece where I can see it really depends on playstyle. If you are in some sort of campaign or linked scenario game in Battletech where resupply might be a problem, or a very, very specific mission, it is kind of nice to have a light mech entirely energy on there. That's a nice little bonus that frees it up a lot more and makes the damage output consistent over multiple games on there. So there's that to consider too, but that won't come into play as much as if you're playing like a one-off type game. Is it a replacement? Your thoughts?